Shalom, Kal Halayim, Le Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Racha HaKodash. Double honors to the apostles of the Great Millstone. All right, the elders, the apostles, elders, bishops on down who rule well, who I learned the truth from. And salutations and blessings to you 144,000 and the rest of the elect, 1/3. All right, to USA Shalom. And this lesson is going into the nature of Esau. All right, the serpent. So this is Genesis 3:1. Now the serpent was more subtle than any beast of the field, which the Lord Yahweh power had made. And he said unto the woman, Yea, had the Most High said, Ye shall not eat of every tree of the garden. Right? Look up this word, subtle, which is irwam, right? Which is subtle, shrewd, crafty, sly, sensible, crafty. You know, and that word craft is a buzzword, man, because what are these witch covens? Right? What is that? That's a craft. Right? These warlocks and witches that Esau, you know, on the top level, that's how he operates. It's through sorcery, right? Cunning, usually in a bad sense, crafty, prudent, and that's why the scriptures also say in the book of Daniel 8, and through his policy also he shall cause craft to prosper in his hand, and he shall magnify himself in his heart, and by peace shall destroy many. He shall also stand up against the prince of princes, but he shall be broken without hand. And in the NLT on the right it says, he will be a master of deception and will become arrogant. He will destroy many without warning. He will even take on the prince of princes in battle, but he will be broken, though not by human power. And that's when, of course, Yahweh Shai comes back, and he will not meet thee as a man. Right? But as you see, he's a master of deception on multiple levels. You know. Anyway, let's get into the lesson. This is gonna deal with some history. All right. I wanted to point out some things I was reading over. This is 1 Kings 11. We're going to start at 14. So it says, And the Lord Yahweh stirred up an adversary unto Solomon, Hadad the Edomite. He was of the king's seed in Edom, so he was of the royal line, right? For it came to pass when David was in Edom, and Joab, the captain of the host, was gone up to bury the slain, after he had smitten every male in Edom, right? Joab, David was putting work on the Edomites, all right? Look, it says verse 16, for 6 months did Joab remain there with all Israel until he had cut off every male in Edom, right? Which that didn't happen. That shows you, look, man, the prophecy of, you know, of when they were in the womb, Jacob and Esau, right? That there will be enmity between her seed and thy seed, right? Going back into Eve and Adam in the garden. That shows you the animosity, right? Because when you deal with this history, all right, these Edomites, first of all, Esau, when he met Jacob for the last time after their father passed, you know, they hugged it out brotherly, right? But Esau never really let go of that grudge, and that's because of that spirit, man. That spirit of the serpent, which was Satan, went into Cain, right? That's the same spirit of subtlety, you know, of the serpent, right? Cain, and then guess what? Cain and his descendants died in the flood. They weren't saved in the flood, but that spirit was reserved. And then one day Esau was born, and that's that spirit, man, that came back, a weapon, right? So now, when you deal with this history, you had David slewing these Edomites, man. All right, put them in captivity, and then trying to pretty much destroy them, which was not, you know, it was not prophesied. That was not Obadiah 1:18 yet. All right, but that shows you the animosity, because, like I said, Esau and Jake, man, they always had that back then. So anyway, Slakia, rambling. Verse 17. That Hadad fled, he and certain Edomites of his father's servants with him, to go into Egypt, Hadad being yet a little child. And they arose out of Midian and came to Paran. And they took men with them out of Paran, and they came to Egypt unto Pharaoh king of Egypt, which gave him which gave him an house, and appointed him victuals, and gave him land. See? So this man found favor. This is what you gotta understand with this devil. He'll run to places and he'll find favor. The Most High will be working with him through his craft and subtlety that nations will kind of like him, like take them in pretty much. Not kind of, they will. And you're gonna see that through various historical occurrences of Esau going in. Hey, can you help me? And hey, buddy, and Esau, that sly talk, and that his words were softer than oil, but war was in his heart. And look, it says verse 19, and Hadad found great favor in the sight of Pharaoh. Why? Because he's an Edomite, because he's subtle. The hell, not because he's a great guy, not because he's righteous, right? So that he gave him to his wife. So that he gave him to wife, the sister of his own wife, the sister of Tapinas, the queen. And the sister of Tapinas bare him Genubath, his son, whom Tapinas weaned in Pharaoh's house. And Genubath was in Pharaoh's household among the sons of Pharaoh. Right, and then in the NLT here, right, in the verse 19, it just says Pharaoh grew very fond of Hadad, and he gave him his sister. So he grew very fond, but that's that fondness. How does that come about? Because Esau creeps his way in, man. That's his spirit, that's his nature. He was blessed with that, as we read in Genesis 3:1. It says, verse 21, and when Hadad heard in Egypt that David slept with his fathers, news traveled, man. You heard King David died, right? News traveled, man. That David had slept with his fathers, and that Joab, the captain of the host, was dead. Hadad said to Pharaoh, let me depart, that I may go to mine own country. Then Pharaoh said unto him, but what dost thou lack with me? That, behold, thou seekest to go to thine own country. And he answered nothing. Howbeit, let me go in any wise. And the Most High stirred him up another adversary, Rezon the son of Elidah, which fled from his lord Hadad-Dezar, king of Zobah. And he gathered men unto him, and became captain over a band when David slew them of Zobah. And they went to Damascus. Right? They went to Damascus and dwelt there and reigned in Damascus. So another point. Look, Esau's already spreading forth. Right? Esau's already going and reigning in places. So what does that mean to reign? That means you're going to spread your seed. And I'm just trying to allude to the fact that in this history lesson I'm going into, this is how Esau crept up and pretty much, lighten up nations as well. You got to understand, right? The main culprit of that, or the main vessel of use, used by the Most High, was Alexander. When Alexander conquered Persia, he wanted to, there's an excerpt in the book of Babylon to Timbuktu. Okay, hold on one. Right, this is Babylon Timbuktu. Okay, and Salaki, I don't have the page. I believe this is around page 80, 82. Salaki for that. If you need the page, I'll put in the comment board. Somebody asked me. But it says, in the year 331 that Alexander the Great defeated the Persian Emperor Darius at the battle of Gaugamela, incorrectly called Arbela, a new master emerged on the world stage and transformed the history and culture of 3 continents. However, Alexander died in the prime of his life at the age of 32 because of debauchery and intoxication, because he was a flamer, right? Before the death of Alexander, his desire was to establish a Eurasian state. His scheme was to amalgamate, meaning mix up everything, right? Stirred in a pot, like the melting pot, right, of today. America, Babylon the Great. So that was the same thing, man. The same shit. His scheme was to amalgamate the Greeks with the Asians. This was implemented by the widespread marriage of his troops with the colored women of the East. Most of his troops remained in the subjugated countries and became absorbed into the native population. Right? So now you're seeing how Esau right? Spread forth his seed, right? Lightening up the nations. All those nations, the Syrians, the Assyrians, right? The Cushites, the Elamites, right? The Ishmaelites, right? To the point where people think Egyptians are people that look like Arabs. Well, those are pretty much implants. Not implant. They conquered that land, but before that, you had the Greeks up in there, and they took out the original pretty much Philistines, which were dark, tall Hamites. Anyway, back here, that was a good point, right? It says you went to Damascus, which is Syria, and you reigned there. When you reign, you're the authority, so you're obviously going to spread your seed. And look at this, verse 25. And he was an adversary to Israel all the days of Solomon, beside the mischief that Hadad did, and he abhorred Israel and reigned over Syria. Right? In the NLT, Rezon was Israel's bitter adversary for the rest of Solomon's reign, and he made trouble. What kind of trouble? Edomite trouble. Dennis the Menace. Right? What other kind of trouble Edomite's going to do? Right? Whisper, gossip, false rumors, false narratives, lies, mischief, man, right? And he made trouble just as Hadad did. That's the Edomite, man. A fucking rebellious spirit. Rezon hated Israel intensely and continued to reign in Aram. Okay? That was the point on that. And that's just to show you a little bit, right? That history, you gotta envision this. Envision these things, man. All right, let's go to the book of, this is the rest of the book of Esther 16. Okay, this is the 16, and I'm going to read this in the GNT 1622. It says, consider, for example, the case of Haman. So, like, let me double check, because that website, when I look it up on the Apocrypha and the scripture, it gives me a different scripture verse. I don't know why. I don't know why it does that, because what I mean by that is when you go to the editions of the rest of the book of Esther, you see it's 10 to 16, but on the website it's 1 to 10 or something like that. I don't know why it's in reverse, but the scripture's in 1 second. Where is that? Yeah, 16 and 10, right? So this is 16 and 10, but in the GNT. All right, so it says, consider, for example, the case of Haman, son of Hammedatha, a Macedonian. So how did they get up into Macedon? Where's that history? A lot of history is covered over, man. Esau's not going to, even talk about that, these biblical scholars. So, there's biblical scholars that say that Esau was done away with in 70 AD. There's biblical scholars that say Esau was done away with. The Babylonians came. All kinds of madness, man, when you go into it. But check this out. He was a Macedonian, but those people in Macedon originally were Japhet. So they're already conquering that land and getting up in there. How? We just gave you an example. he finds favor where he can. And then the deception, the craft starts. The treachery, the bloodshed, right? He is a foreigner with no Persian blood and with no trace of my generosity, but I welcomed him, and he received the benefit of my concern and love for all people. He was in fact proclaimed father of the empire and received more honor than anyone else except the king. So look how high up they put him, man. There's these devils, man, right? But his arrogance knew no limits, and he tried to murder me and take over the empire. And didn't we read about the arrogant before, right? Where did I mention that in 1 Kings 11? He was his arrogancy, right? But his arrogancy knew no limits, and he tried to murder me and take over the empire. In his crafty, right? We just brought that out. And deceitful way, he asked that Mordecai be put to death. Mordecai, who once saved my life and who has always supported me, he even asked me for the death of Esther, our blameless queen, and in fact the death of all the Israelites. Okay, I'm not gonna say that what it says right there. The Israelites. Why? Because of the enmity, the hatred that Esau, all the way stemming back from Esau, Edom, all the way back to the garden, the serpent seed, and the righteous seed. Okay, the seed of the wicked and the seed of the righteous, there will be enmity between them, right? Verse 26, his purpose was to leave us helpless and to allow the Macedonians to take over the Persian Empire. Even though this wicked criminal plotted to wipe out the Jews, I find that they are not traitors at all, but are governed by very just laws. They worship the living power. Now this is a who? Hold on one second. Let me. Who is it? This is Xerxes, right? So this is Xerxes, a Persian, right? If I'm not mistaken, my history on that scrambled right now. I believe it was a Persian because I know some of the Xerxes they weren't Persian. So lucky if I'm off on that, but I gotta look that up. But don't quote me on that. You can do your own research. But this is Xerxes, a heathen nonetheless. Okay, admitting this, right? He said they worship the living power, the highest and greatest power, who has kept our empire in its excellent condition from the time of our ancestors until our own day. Therefore, I advise you not to carry out the instructions issued in the letters sent out by Haman. He is the person responsible for all of this, and he has been hanged, along with his entire family, at the gates of Susa. The Most High, who governs all things, has given him the speedy punishment that he deserved. Now, when you go into KJV, right, read it a bit different. For Ammon, a Macedonian, the son of Amadatha, being indeed a stranger from the Persian blood, and far distant from our goodness, and as a stranger received of us. Right at that, like I said, a stranger peeps in and like I gotta get that script though. Right, Isaiah 55 and 20. He hath put forth his hands against such as be at peace with him. Right? Anybody, takes this man in, oh, he's cool, because why? Because his speech. But he hath put forth his hands against such as be at peace with him. He hath broken his covenant. Any kind of agreement this man makes, I don't feel after he doesn't feel like keeping it, or he never meant to keep it. Whatever his excuse is, this man is a son of perdition spirit. That's the spirit he's in. The words of his mouth were smoother than butter, but war was in his heart. His words were softer than oil, yet were they drawn swords. Okay. Let's read that 21 in the NLT. His words are smooth as butter, but in his heart is war. His words are soothing as lotion, but underneath are daggers. Like this guy Shakespeare, which is a Jake. He had a saying in one of his plays. Behind men's smiles, daggers. That's an old English saying. Behind men's smiles, daggers. And that's going into hey, the man can give off that countenance of everything's fine and he loves you and he has well intentions, but nah, man, this dude has a dagger behind him, ready to take you out. So let's go back here. Verse 11, had so far forth obtained the favor that we showed toward every nation, as that he was called our father and was continually honored of all the next person unto the king. So this man was gloating in the honor. People knew him. If you have honor, right, and you're pretty much the most honorable person next to the king, that means everybody knows you, right? The officers, the heads, the elders, the regular people. So this man was, oh yes, I'm a great person, but his whole time he was scheming how to translate that kingdom, right? As we're going to read. Verse 12, but he, not bearing his great dignity, because he has none, went about to deprive us of our kingdom and life, having by manifold, meaning many, and cunning deceits, sought of us the destruction, as well as Mordecaius, right? Who saved our life and continually procured our good, as also of blameless Esther, partaker of our kingdom with their whole nation. For by these means he thought, finding us destitute of friends, to have translated the kingdom of the Persians to the Macedonians. Right? And this is just a good insight as to how Esau, you ask, oh, how did Esau start to rule? And how? Because this man's not great in the sense, look, he has his warriors and he has his ways of war and violence and all that. But head on, this man is not great, bro. This man is not a great top warrior, and he's he's so honorable and so smart and intelligent in the tactics of war. All right, Esau Esau, first of all, Esau and his military academies, right, his colleges, they still study Jakes, right? They'll study the Indian Wars, right, between the British and the French, and the tactics used. They'll go all the way back to Hannibal and study his tactics. Okay, but this man will come and play divide and conquer. That's his thing, right? As we read, he shall cause craft to prosper. You know, he'll make you think that your top officer is plotting against you and whisper in your ear. He'll bring up a false witness or two, and then he'll have the king slay the guy, and the guy was innocent, and he's just trying to make you destitute of your friends so he can just take you out. That's how this man works. All right. Anyway, that was pretty much it. I just wanted to kind of get into that a little bit, and Lord's will, I'll get into a little bit more history on E. You know, taking over certain empires and going forth and all that, and pretty much how we use deception to conquer that. But hopefully you're edified with that, to show you how Esau as well. You know, he went to Syria way back when, way before the Greeks. Okay, just to kind of put them, that idea in your head that Esau wasn't just in the rocks all the times, man. In Petra, this man was making moves. Anyway, kahalalim la Yahweh Bashem Yahushai Bashem Rakha double honest, the apostles of GMS who rule well, apostles and elders and bishops, and shalom to the elect. Kwame Sharallah.